I'm Jacob. I am a dual diagnosis family link worker and my job is funded by Children in Need. So my role involves working with young people or working with adults, it can be both, but there would have to be a young person involved in the case. And I would meet with the family, whoever was struggling, and teach them about coping mechanisms for their mental health, or if they were struggling with substance misuse, I would help them with coping mechanisms or building new habits and things like that. So if you end up working with me, or if you end up being supported by me, then you'll already be working with one of the other teams involved with HYH, so I'll be referred service users from the hub or from the mediation team, and I come in as extra support, so I'm working more one-to-one instead of with the whole family. I'll be working one-to-one with whoever needed it in that family. So I normally get 12 weeks with the service user, but that can sometimes be split, so I might have 6 weeks with the young person and then 6 weeks with the adults, or I might have a couple of weeks with the young person, a couple of weeks with the adult, and then if it's appropriate we might bring them together and help them there. Yeah, so we would normally start off with an activity that sort of sets the tone for the whole 12 weeks that we'd work together, and it's a silly memory game, it's just a bit of fun, but it makes the point of what we're trying to do throughout the whole 12 weeks is we're not trying to get rid of difficult feelings, we're trying to become totally aware of what we're feeling and why we're feeling it, so that the young person or the adult or whoever's struggling feels like they've got a firm grip of what's going on in their life. They don't feel like they're spiralling out of control, they feel like they understand themselves a little bit better. So with one of the first games that we do with the service users, I will show them an image with lots of different circles, squares, crosses and triangles on the screen, and they're all in black and white. It's a real mess. It's really difficult to distinguish. So what I get the service user to do is I give them 30 seconds and they've got to count all the shapes as quickly as they can, and they've got to remember them all separately. At the end of the 30 seconds, normally they've got barely any answers, and that's the idea. It's supposed to be too difficult. That's the point. Then in the next image, it's a little bit clearer because the colours are distinguished. So all the circles might be a certain colour, all the triangles might be a different colour, and so on. And I'll give them a minute, and then I won't distract them. So in the first one, I was talking over them as they were trying to count and making it difficult. And in this one, they might have a minute, and they can have a pen and paper as well to write down what they get. So it transitions and becomes slightly easier. And then in the last image, everything is organised and in its separate corners, and it becomes really, really easy to count. And that's normally their fastest time of counting all the shapes up. And the point is that taking time out away from distractions, often having a pen and paper and journaling, and all these different techniques that we're going to learn across these 12 weeks help organise people who are struggling with their mental health. It helps organise their thoughts. And even if you're not struggling with your mental health, it's just a good thing for us as people to do, to take some time out, have a real think about how you feel, and organise your mind in a way where things feel a lot more manageable. So one of the other things that we'll do with, particularly if it's someone struggling with their mental health, but you can also use this for someone who was supporting someone who was struggling with their mental health, is an image of it's sort of like a road on a cliffside, and we look at the image and we sort of assess how the road is set up in order to keep that drive safe, because obviously it's quite a precarious drive, even though it's a beautiful image. And we look at it and we look at the barrier, and how the barrier, if the cliff edge is sort of out here, the barrier is not right on the very edge of the cliff. There's sort of a little gap in between. And we'll talk about that image for a little while, talk about why it's set up like that, and then we move into a little activity where we use that image for the person who might be struggling and their life and how they set out their boundaries. So often I feel like with people that I'm working with, they'll get to a crisis point and then realise, oh my word, I'm in real trouble here. Whereas the image helps prompt us into a way of working our lives where the barriers aren't right off the edge of the cliff where there's irreversible damage and there's a car crash. It's more, okay, if I knock into this barrier in my life, then it might be an uncomfortable experience, but I know now I need to turn in and I need to keep myself on this straighter path, I suppose. And we would then talk about, okay, so what barriers can we put in your life that help protect you, that help keep you healthier and happier and in a better state of mind?